Okay, it's time to take on Chapter 8, Route 666. Because obviously they had to go with the whole demonic number thingy. And I love this cutscene.
I don't suppose I can call a cab to get me to the island.
Now, something that you might not know is that that security guard, as well as the security guard in Chapter 2, are also voiced by Yuri Lowenthal, who you should know by now is Luca. It's just great. And Yuri Lowenthal also voices Temperancia. But you didn't know that one. Now, blasting through the heart there is another bit of Shimamura-esque choreography that he was very particular about.
Did you see that?
Yes, we did. It was very impressive.
Mummy saved us.
What? Hello there, Cheshire. Shit!
Luca, don't swear in front of the child. Good
It
grief.
seems your driving is on par with your journalism.
I figured I'd beat you to the island, but the guards had another idea, didn't they? Not really my best plan, huh?
Nope.
You think you've got me figured out, don't you?
We journalists have to have some detective skills, you know? You're after a gemstone, and that stone has to be in the Ithaval Group building. I'm headed there too.
How odd. You seem to know where I'm going before I do. Yet you don't seem to know how to drive a car in a straight line.
What am I? A chauffeur?
Cheshire, do you have any idea what prolonged walking in this salty air will do to my hair?
Well, I tend to use some product when I go to the beach.
Little one, get down! Put your foot down, Cheshire. I'll take care of our pest problem.
Wonderful.
And here we have one of Hideki Kamiya's favourite Sega songs, Splash Wave, Infinite Climax Mix.
But I love it when people play hard to get.
So, as I believe I might have said before, when Kamiya-san realised that Sega was going to be publishing the game, he wanted to kind of take it beyond a simple alliance and wanted to create a fusion of content. And in the end, they did allow him to use some of his favourite Sega music in Bayonetta. So we've had Magical Sound Shower. Here we have Splash Wave, which is from Outrun. And there's even more, which is just great. I mean, he said that the chance to include music from games he was crazy about is kind of like a dream come true. And also, as well as having the remixes of them, you also have the original songs in here as well. Basically, if you hold, I believe it's left bumper and left trigger at the same time before the music starts, then you can get the original music to play. Which is just great. I should also point out that whilst we're fighting on top of the cars here, this is basically kind of the remnants of one of the very early climax scenes that they wanted to do. So basically what was going to happen was there was going to be a spectacular crash, the camera would go into ultra slow motion, and you'd be jumping from car to car killing angels. And this was one of the ones that was imagined from the very beginning. Although obviously it changed quite a bit since its initial plan, but still. And now we have 3 joys in the middle of the highway. This is interesting. Basically, the cars are never random. They do have a program to them. And I think it's basically that they continually drive in left lanes whenever Bayonetta is facing them. But on harder above that changes. And generally, your best bet is to fight in the hard shoulder. That's not really much of a hard shoulder, it's a bit thin. But basically, if you fight in here, then you're much less likely to get hit. Now, this is one of the shorter chapters in the game, but it's also one of the chapters where you cannot skip any of the verses. You have to do all of them. I'm not a particular fan of this verse. It's just a bit infuriating sometimes, particularly because kind of fighting the joys can sometimes be a pain. Now, I don't know whether I've brought this up just yet, but when Bayonetta summons the wooden horse for joy, basically she says Mikmar, which means behold. There was some controversy, I think, because I think it states somewhere that Bayonetta says Piada with that torture attack, but it's nothing like that at all. The final, so the sound file was probably mixed up. And here we have Afterburner Infinite Climax Mix. Now, the text for the motorcycle there is based on the logo for Sega's Hang On, which was done to honour the motorcycle connection. Also, Irenic, or Irenic, I don't quite know how I would pronounce that, basically they realised that they needed an enemy, a specific enemy, to interfere with you in this stage, so he was added in a bit of a hurry. So he's probably one of the last angels to be kind of decided on. Now, the use of the Afterburner music here is quite interesting. So the arrangement used is called Afterburner Infinite Climax Mix, and throughout the game they kind of wanted to have a feminine sound to all of the music, so guitars kind of weren't used. But for this track the ban on guitars was completely lifted. It was basically kind of because it needed the guitar in there, because that's what part of what Afterburner's music's like. Because Kamiya-san said that it's maybe the first game that sampled actual riffs to replicate the sound of live guitars. He had a tough decision between this song and Final Takeoff, which plays kind of immediately after starting the game. He couldn't really decide between the two, so in the end he went for this one for variety, also because this level is a little bit darker than the other moments where it's used. Now, there are actually kind of multiple variants of Afterburner, because there's the original song, which has no melody line, but the soundtrack CD that was released later did have a melody on it. And then there's two versions from Afterburner 2, one with a melody and one without. And you can actually hear all three variants in Bayonetta. You've just got to press the right buttons. I don't quite know what the buttons for each one is, but you can hear all 3 variants in this level if you press the right buttons before the music begins, which is just awesome that they went that far. I mean, pretty much I think initially they were just going to go with the music that comes in after Burner 2, but then Hiro-san brought the track which was the first version of Afterburner and asked if they wanted to use it, so of course they did. Why the hell would they say no? Also, the license plate on Bayonetta's bike reads VI6RID, so it says Vigrid. And since she's powering it by magic, doesn't really matter if the tank's empty or not. Now I believe right here we are, yes, here we go. If you go up on the path here, then you can get a Broken Witch Heart, which you're going to want to do. Because getting the Broken Witch Hearts in this level, well, in this chapter, it's very easy to do. But basically with the motorcycle, going through at high speed means that you will crash a lot, but you do not take any damage from the cars. So you'll see damage effects if you hit them, but you won't actually be damaged, so they don't affect rating. What does affect rating, however, is the crashed lorries, basically. So in general, you don't really have to play very carefully. You can just kind of shoot and fire, and it works fine. I have to say, I do love this level. I mean, it's completely crazy. It comes out of nowhere, and it's just so much fun. It's maybe a little longer than maybe it should be, but I can deal with that. I should also point out that because after a certain point in the game, oh yes, here's another Broken Witch Heart for you. I mean, well, actually no, after you've beaten the game, you can buy alternate costumes for Bayonetta. One of them being the nun costume that she wears right at the beginning of the game. Basically, if you wear that outfit on this chapter, then you literally cannot see anything, because the cape's getting in the way. I mean, as it is, it's slightly difficult to see what's going on. I would have perhaps liked a camera angle that was a bit further out, but what can you do? It just looks badass either way you look at it. Now, I really do kind of find the fact that they used classic Sega music in this game kind of just really amazing. And just because kind of I like it whenever anything makes homages to something, because it shows that the developers really, really care about what they're doing, and it also shows that they have a love for video games, which is just always wonderful to see. So basically, it's just kind of so nice to see, and hear, I should say. Now, obviously, the point at which I am doing this recording, Bayonetta is getting a sequel, exclusive to the Wii U. At present, it's not out yet. It won't be out for maybe another year or so. But the fact that they had classic Sega references in this game gives me hope that Bayonetta 2 will have classic Nintendo references, since Nintendo are publishing it. Either way, I'm really looking forward to that game. You have no idea. I think pretty much Bayonetta is the single most hyped up I have ever been for a game. And then it killed me that the game didn't turn up on time because of the way I ordered it. It took like an extra week or two for it to arrive. Oh, it was gutting. Language Cheshire. Ugh. So the fact that I was so excited for the original Bayonetta, God only knows what I'm going to be like when Bayonetta 2 is coming out.
I know you don't want me here, but you really could have been more subtle about it.
And here we have the Braves, which are basically a variant of the Beloved. And the music used for this verse is another classic homage. It's the boss music from Fantasy Zone. Basically, all of the tracks are have Infinite Climax Mix as the title. But the song is originally just called Boss, which is a pretty crap name. So they thought, I know, what could we kind of choose for an actual decent title? And so this track is called Magnificent 7 Infinite Climax Mix, which refers to the 7 bosses in Fantasy Zone. For me, I think it may have been a bit presumptuous and even selfish to rename that track, but I think he was quite proud to be able to do it. And that is the Braves done and dusted. And as quickly as it began, it's already over. That's the end of Chapter 8. And so Bayonetta has fallen through a portal to somewhere we'll find out soon. Kind of like falling through a rabbit hole. It's a bit like Alice in Wonderland, really. And if you've kind of been keeping note of Bayonetta calling Luca Cheshire, that's also a slight little bit Alice in Wonderland reference, which is quite awesome. So let's finish off this angel attack, and then we can move on to the next chapter where we return to the more standard gameplay style in Chapter 9, which features the rather interesting title. I believe it's The Remembrance of Time. I say before it even turns up, but yes, Paradiso, A Remembrance of Time.